When a movie is as big of a hit as Crocodile Dundee, you better believe there's going to be a sequel. In fact, audiences that rented a VHS tape of the original film back in 1987 had a little introduction before it, teasing the fact that a sequel was in the works.
Paramount Pictures is proud to announce Crocodile Dundee 2, coming to theaters everywhere for the summer of '88.
Something all of us kids who grew up with this movie were pretty psyched by. So when the first movie came out, Paul Hogan became a massive international star. He was already big in Australia, but before Crocodile Dundee, Hogan was mostly known for his shrimp on the bobby Australian tourism adverts in North America.
Better fill the icebox and fire up the barbie. Because Aussies like to make you feel at home.
In 1987, though, he was so popular that he was one of the 3 hosts of the 1987 Academy Awards, opposite Goldie Hawn and Chevy Chase. Crocodile Dundee 2 would be a much bigger film than his predecessor. After all, this wasn't a small Australian indie anymore. It was a big studio film, with Paramount Pictures, who distributed the first film, bankrolling it for $14 million. This was many times higher than that of the original film, but still relatively cheap.
Oh, I wouldn't say it's worthless.
Now, the first film was famous for being a fish-out-of-water movie. The sequel, they simply reversed the formula, putting the fish back into water in a manner of speaking. As such, it falls into a bit of a different genre than the first movie, which was essentially a romantic comedy with nods at action-adventure. This would be pretty much a straightforward action movie, albeit done in a lighthearted way.
I knew it was you all the time. First you shoot my head, now you try to drown me.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
As the movie starts, Mick Dundee is happily living in New York with Sue Charlton, once again played by Linda Kozlowski. He's adjusted to living in the big city pretty well, and seems pretty popular, with even the cops giving him an "Oh, Mick" when they catch him fishing with dynamite in the Hudson River.
Breakfast. Get out of here.
All is going pretty well until Sue's ex-husband, an investigative journalist, is killed on assignment by a Pablo Escobar-style drug lord. It turns out that he caught the Baron, Luis Rico, killing a man on camera, and sent the film to Sue before being killed. She's snatched up by Rico's henchmen and held for ransom, with them wanting the film. When he tries to exchange the film for her, Rico's henchmen try to kill him, only for him to foil the attempt thanks to some helpful Japanese tourists.
You know who that was? Clint Eastwood!
He ends up rescuing Sue from their fortified mansion with the help of a streetwise buddy named Leroy, played by the great Charles S. Dutton, and a local street gang. But Rico and his men get away and swear to kill both Mick and Sue. So what are they going to do? They head back to Walkabout Creek in Australia to get help from his old mates.
Mick! You're back! You're back! I missed you. I missed you.
Plus the Aboriginals, and lead the drug lords on a wild goose chase through the outback. So while the first Crocodile Dundee movie featured Mick and his Aboriginal friends having mystical powers, the sequel really doubles down on this, with them virtually able to vanish into thin air. We also get a little more background on Mick this time, with it revealed that he was raised by the Aboriginals and that his family actually owns much of the outback, but that he's refused to consider it his property out of respect for its original inhabitants, the Aboriginals, which is pretty forward-thinking on his behalf, I think.
This area we're in now, does it have a name?
Belonga Mick.
Belonga Mick. Does that mean something?
Mick's place.
Okay, why does it mean that?
Because I own it, I guess.
The film winds up becoming much more of an action film, with probably the biggest departure from the first movie being that the humor really takes a back seat. So much so, in fact, that it was a sticking point for some fans and critics, but the film has a nice vibe, with Dundee as fun to watch in his element as out of it. The movie has more than a few classic moments, albeit none quite on par with the "you call that a knot" scene, one of which is when he uses his knife on a mohawk.
What are your chances of getting out of here with that jacket on?
Better than average.
And another is when he takes a swan dive off his apartment's balcony with a rope and crashes into an office with a charming "g'day."
Oh, excuse me.
The musical score is similar to the first film and effective in an action-driven setting. Also keep your eyes peeled for early roles from people like Stephen Root, Luis Guzman, and even Colin Quinn of SNL fame. While people maybe think this was less successful than the original film, that's only true in some of a sense. It was actually a massive blockbuster, making $109 million domestically, meaning it was the 6th highest-grossing movie of 1988. It infamously opened opposite Rambo 3 and wound up grossing twice as much as that movie on a minuscule $14 million budget compared to Rambo 3's, which was close to $60 and one of the most expensive movies of all time. That said, it was still over $70 million shy of what the first movie made. But, of course, the first film was a one-of-a-kind hit and a runaway smash. Worldwide, this made close to $240 million, which was big money for 1988. But that was still about $90 million shy of what the first movie made. Nevertheless, Paul Hogan ended 1988 as a major star, one of the biggest in Hollywood's, but it wasn't to last. In 1990, he made another movie with Paramount called Almost an Angel, which only made about $6 million, and that essentially ended his career in the States with him seen kind of as a fad. Within a few years, he'd be playing third fiddle to Elijah Wood and a dolphin in the Flipper movie. He tried to resurrect Mick with Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, but the series had simply run its course by that time, and it only made about $40 million worldwide. And in fact, Tom Green took issue with even that reported figure, telling the media that kids actually bought tickets to Crocodile Dundee and sneaked in to see his own movie, Freddy Got Fingered, which was a hard R.
Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, would you like some sausage?
After that, Hogan stuck mainly to Australian films, had some tax problems, although he did try to do a couple of movies, such as a Curb Your Enthusiasm-style satire called The Very Excellent Mr. Dundee, and he was the center of a hoax revolving around a Super Bowl commercial that made it look like Danny McBride was playing Mick's now-grown son in a sequel. The commercial had cameos from almost every big Australian movie star out there, except Mel Gibson, but alas, it was all a joke.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
So while Crocodile Dundee's run as a franchise was kind of short, it can't be denied that the first movie is a classic, and hey, part 2, pretty damn good too.
You ready to go home now?
I'm home.